Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that has captured hearts for generations. A tale of kindness, magic, and the belief that goodness will always triumph. Get cozy, because we're about to revisit the enchanting world of Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, lived a gentle and beautiful girl named Cinderella. Her life was filled with sunshine and her mother's love, but sadly, her mother passed away, leaving a deep void in her heart. Hoping to bring happiness back into their home, her father remarried. His new wife, however, was a woman of cold and cruel heart, and she brought with her two daughters, Anastasia and Drizella, who were just as mean-spirited as she was. From that day on, Cinderella's life changed dramatically. Her new stepfamily was consumed by jealousy of her grace and beauty. They forced her into servitude, making her do all the exhausting housework from dawn until dusk. She scrubbed floors, cooked meals, and mended their clothes, while they idled away their days. Her fine dresses were taken away, replaced by old, tattered rags, and her bedroom was a small, dusty attic. They even gave her the name Cinderella because she was often covered in cinders from sleeping by the fireplace to keep warm. Despite their cruelty, Cinderella remained kind and gentle, finding friendship in the little mice and birds that lived around the house. She never lost hope, dreaming that one day her life would be filled with joy again. One sunny morning, a royal decree arrived at every house in the kingdom. The king was hosting a magnificent royal ball. It was a grand affair, and every eligible young woman in the land was invited. The reason? The prince was looking for a bride, and he would choose his future princess at this very ball. The news sent waves of excitement through Cinderella's house. Her stepsisters could talk of nothing else. They spent weeks preparing, ordering new gowns, and practicing their curtsies. They bossed Cinderella around more than ever, demanding she help them get ready. Cinderella, press my dress. Cinderella, polish my shoes. They would shriek. Cinderella's heart fluttered with a tiny spark of hope. May I go to the ball, too? She asked her stepmother, her voice barely a whisper. Her stepmother and stepsisters burst into cruel laughter. You, in your rags and dirt, you would be a disgrace to us all. Her stepmother sneered. However, she added with a sly grin, if you can finish all your chores and find something suitable to wear, then you may go. Cinderella's heart leaped. It was a sliver of a chance, but it was enough. She worked tirelessly, finishing every single chore with lightning speed. With the help of her little mice and bird friends, she even managed to fix up an old dress of her mother's, adding ribbons and lace to make it look lovely. Just as she was ready to leave, her stepsisters saw her. In a fit of jealous rage, they tore her dress to shreds. You can't wear our old ribbons and beads, they screeched, leaving her in a heap of tattered cloth. Heartbroken and alone, Cinderella ran out to the garden and wept. All her dreams were shattered. It seemed there was no hope left at all. But just as her last tear fell, a shimmering light appeared before her. It was her fairy godmother with a kind smile and a twinkle in her eye. Now, dry your tears, my dear," she said softly. "You shall go to the ball." With a flick of her magical wand, the fairy godmother began to work her wonders. She turned a plump pumpkin from the garden into a magnificent, gleaming carriage. The little mice were transformed into 4 majestic white horses, and a fat rat became a jolly coachman. Then she turned to Cinderella with another wave of her wand. Her torn rags swirled into the most breathtaking ball gown imaginable, shimmering like starlight, and on her feet appeared a pair of delicate, sparkling glass slippers. Cinderella couldn't believe her eyes. "Oh, thank you," she cried. "But remember, the fairy godmother warned, this magic has a time limit. You must be home by the stroke of midnight. When the clock strikes 12, the spell will break, and everything will turn back to what it was." Cinderella promised she would remember, and with a heart full of gratitude, she stepped into the carriage and rode off to the ball. When Cinderella arrived, everyone at the palace turned to stare. No one recognized the stunning princess who had just entered. The prince himself was captivated the moment he saw her. He had never seen anyone so graceful and beautiful. He walked directly to her, bowed, and asked for a dance. For the rest of the evening, he danced with no one else. They talked, they laughed, and it felt as if they were the only 2 people in the room. Cinderella was so caught up in the magic of the moment that she completely forgot about the time. Suddenly, she heard the distant chime of the clock tower. Bong bong. It was striking midnight. "Oh, I must go," she exclaimed, pulling away from the prince's arms. She fled down the grand staircase as fast as she could. "Wait, I don't even know your name," the prince called after her, but she was already gone. In her haste, one of her delicate glass slippers slipped off her foot and was left behind on the stairs. The prince picked it up, vowing he would not rest until he found the mysterious princess to whom it belonged. The very next day, a royal proclamation was made. The prince would visit every home in the kingdom, and he would marry the girl whose foot fit perfectly into the glass slipper. The prince and his royal guard traveled from house to house, but the slipper fit no one. It was too small, too narrow, too delicate. Finally, they arrived at Cinderella's home. The 2 stepsisters tried desperately to squeeze their feet into the slipper, but it was no use. Just as the prince was about to leave, he noticed Cinderella quietly standing in the corner. "Let her try," he commanded, despite the stepmother's protests. The royal attendant knelt and gently placed the glass slipper on Cinderella's foot. It slid on perfectly, a flawless fit. The stepmother and stepsisters gasped in disbelief. At that moment, Cinderella reached into her pocket and pulled out the other glass slipper. There was no doubt she was the one. The prince's heart filled with joy. He had found his true love. He took Cinderella by the hand, led her away from that house of cruelty, and brought her to the palace. Soon after, they were married in a grand celebration, and the entire kingdom rejoiced. Cinderella, with her endlessly kind heart, even forgave her stepmother and stepsisters for all their wickedness. And as all the best stories go, she and the prince ruled their kingdom with kindness and grace, and they lived happily ever after. And that's the beautiful story of Cinderella. It's a timeless reminder that no matter how difficult things get, having courage and being kind are true forms of magic. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tales. We'll see you in the next video.